All right, welcome back, guys. First things first, if you are listening, we highly encourage that you hop on over to our YouTube channel because drum roll, we're together for the first time.
Yay!
Yay! This is weird.
It is weird. It's been a while.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
Yeah, this is episode 6. So we've done the first 4 episodes.
Yeah. And
virtually.
We saw each other when I was home
over Easter,
but it was like quick.
And we hadn't even started recording yet, I don't think. I think we recorded our first episode the week after that.
Yeah. Because I saw you, I think it was only like 2-3 hours or something.
Yeah, we got dinner with Kat.
Yeah. And then before that, was it New Year's?
Yeah. Yeah, because I flew out here in January.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, so the last time we actually sat down and got to have a chill conversation was in January.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
But yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, you're here. Yeah, you got here 2 days ago.
Yes.
Staying until Tuesday.
The 1st, June 1st.
The 1st. And another exciting thing, Kat is joining us today.
She should be hopping on a plane literally any minute now.
Right now, yeah.
So we were like, we got to get this recorded and go pick her up.
Yeah.
So we do want to dive right into our topic today, and we're going to discuss some more fun things and on a more positive note at the end. So today we are talking about mental health.
Yes.
Which is something that we did say in our trailer we have talked about, and we realized we haven't actually really touched base on mental health a lot so far. Mm-hmm. So we figured that this was a perfect time to do it since we're together and it is a more emotional topic. It just seemed kind of weird to do it over Zoom.
Right. Yep. Totally agree. So I'm excited.
Yeah. Do we want to jump right into our stories, our experiences with mental health and depression and anxiety and everything?
Yeah. Do you want to go first?
Sure. So I started dealing with depression when I was a sophomore in high school. I didn't acknowledge it as that at the time. I got really sick, was in and out of the hospital a couple times, ended up getting diagnosed with stomach migraines. I lost 30 pounds in 2 months. I just thought I was sick. I didn't really think I was dealing with depression, but I was. After that, it was on and off throughout high school, dealing with migraines. And then when I got to college, that was when it really hit. My sophomore year of college, going into my junior year, was when it got really bad. I was living with my ex-boyfriend, which we've talked about. I moved in with complete strangers that I had met on Facebook. So I was living with 4 complete strangers, was trying to have a legit college experience after getting out of a relationship. And for me, I've always been an overthinker. I cannot shut my brain off. And I knew it was bad when I woke up one day and my brain was completely silent. I had slept for 16 hours that day. I literally was in a routine for about 2 months to sleep for 14 to 16 hours. I would get up, eat, shower, do homework, go back to bed. That was my routine for a solid month. And it got really bad. And it scared me to death, my brain being completely silent, which is funny because I always thought that I always was trying to turn my brain off and I always thought it would be so peaceful, but it scared me to death. And that was when I decided I need to go see a psychiatrist. I need to get on medicine or do therapy or something. So I got on medicine for 9 months. It wasn't the best. I did have a lot of side effects from it, which wasn't fun. Wasn't a believer in therapy at the time. I didn't understand the thought of having to tell a complete stranger my problems. I didn't see how that was going to help me. But I wanted off the medicine so badly. And my psychiatrist was like, if you want off the medicine this quickly, because usually you have to take it for a year, you're going to have to start therapy. I'm not going to take you off of it until you start therapy. So I went into therapy with an open mindset and decided to give it a full, honest try. And I fell in love with it. I so look forward to it. I've been going for a year and a half now. And it's been life-changing. It's been amazing. I'm to the point now where I'm like, how does everyone not go to therapy? Yeah. What? So that's my experience in a nutshell with depression, at least. When it comes to anxiety, we actually had a conversation about this yesterday. My doctor thinks I should take anxiety medicine, and I've been holding off on it because my anxiety only affects myself. Anything Chris does right now is not going to make me anxious or uncomfortable. And it definitely is the overthinking where my anxiety comes from. And I didn't realize that was anxiety. I always thought, oh, I overthink. My brain doesn't shut off. This is how I've been since I was a toddler. It is what it is.
Right.
So that anxiety is definitely a new path that I am kind of exploring right now. But
for sure.
That's me.
Yeah. So how are you feeling right now, though?
That's a great question. Right now I'm having post-college depression a little bit.
It's a thing.
It's
It's a
definitely
thing.
since I've been here and I'm doing stuff, but only the last 2 weeks, like I'm back at my like hometown. It's weird being away from my roommates. It's weird that I'm not doing schoolwork. So I'm definitely kind of having some like a little bit of a funk because of that. Other than that, my depression just kind of goes through waves. It's like a roller coaster always.
Right.
It runs very heavily on both sides of my family. So mine is also a chemical thing. And that's something that was really hard for me to accept because there are some mornings I wake up and just I feel like shit. I don't feel like getting out of bed. I don't feel like doing anything. And nothing in my life caused that. It's just in the middle of the night while I was sleeping, those chemicals got unbalanced. And the way that I think about it is sometimes you have to go out of balance to rebalance. So when that does happen, I have gotten into the habit of when I feel sad, I let myself, depending on like the severity of it, feel depressed and feel sorry for myself for 24 to 48 hours.
Right.
So within those 24 to 48 hours, I'm not doing that much schoolwork. I'm not really hanging out with people, kind of taking time for myself, eating that pint of ice cream if I want to. Definitely hardcore journaling during those times. And then after that 24 to 48 hours, I'm like, all right, it's go time. Like we're back to reality. We're back to life. We're moving forward.
Right.
So,
well, and it's good to know that about yourself. That shows like you've gone through a big progression of getting better physically, mentally, and emotionally, and caring about yourself.
Well, that's the big thing. Like, I think there's a big stigma around that, like therapy is going to cure you. And it's not. What therapy has done for me is it's given me the tools and the tactics and the knowledge to recognize that depression is coming on quicker so I can get ahead of it. Right. So not letting myself fall back down into that hole that I did my junior year. Right. That's the big part of it.
Right. Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Good.
So what about you, Chris? Tell us your experience.
Mine is different.
Yes, yours is different from any story that I personally have ever heard.
Yeah. So when was the first time I started like actually talking to people about it?
You told me like I think 5th to 6th grade was when you told your mom.
Well, I'm meaning like when did I like tell you like for the first time? Like because
when I was a sophomore in college.
Right. So it's been a little while.
Yeah, like it was around the time that I was the worst.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for me, completely different story. I realized later, but knew what it was, is when I was in 2nd grade, I was very depressed.
Which is a very young age to even like, did you recognize it as that at the time?
I didn't recognize it as that at the time. I just thought that, I don't know. So I went through a lot of bullying, and like, I know that that's a
very common
beginner for a lot of people's mental health problems. And so I was extremely bullied when I was in elementary school, very young. And then just things with extended family was part of it, and different stuff like that. But it went from 2nd grade to about 7th grade was my worst. And then 8th grade, of course, I was still a little depressed, but I wasn't as bad as what I was. And then in high school, I was better. I felt good. And also I'm the type that I need to throw myself into things and get busy with things instead of sitting around and then thinking about and dwelling and like thinking about like those kind of thoughts and everything. But then it started again in college. But I'll start from the beginning. When I was in 2nd grade, I didn't realize like that's what it was. I didn't notice that that's what it was until
like middle school.
Then I was like, oh, this is what's been wrong with me. Like, and not that it was wrong with me, but like this is what's been going on with me.
Yeah.
And it's with where we grew up, there's still just a huge stigma around mental health. And so of course, when I was younger, I didn't know what I was going through. I didn't know, nobody talked about it. Nobody was like, oh yeah, like this is depression, this is anxiety, like this is like a problem, like a lot of people go through it. And so I never realized, but 2nd grade was when it really started for me, and it was not good. And then about like 5th grade, I had never told anyone before. And I had a conversation with my mom, and she, of course, was extremely upset because, I mean, what mother wouldn't be upset? And so I think that she handled it really well. We talked about it for a while, but then me like seeing my mom be that upset, like kind of made it harder for me, because then I was like, I'm not going to talk about it with anybody, because like if this is how my mom is reacting, like I don't even want to know what anybody else is how they're going to react. So then that was really tough, but I knew that like if it came down to it and I was going through something really, really hard at the time, I could go to my mom. And I mean, she had shared like things with me, and we had conversations about it, and like we still do, which is good. And so I think that that's also, my mom is my best friend, but I think that me being able to tell her, and like I never told my dad. I never told my dad. Like, I mean, I told like him and my brother like later, but like not then. But I'm assuming my mom told my dad, but you know, and so it really, that has helped my mom and I grow closer to, I mean, like I'm always been extremely close with my mom. She's my best friend, she's my role model, but it's just weird. It's weird going through that so young. And it has definitely grown me into the person that I am today, because like when I was in high school, like something like in my brain just like flipped, and I was like, like none of this, like none of what I'm going through and none of my depression is coming from things that I'm doing. Like it's coming from what others are doing to me. And so, and I grew up super shy, didn't talk to like anyone. And I had like one friend throughout like elementary school. I mean, I had friends, but like, I mean, I only had like one like super close friend. And so all of a sudden I was like, you know what? I'm better than this. People don't deserve to treat me this way. And like, I'm not going to sit around and be sad all the time, like 24/7 every single day, and have like bad thoughts and just live my life. Like I want to do, this is what I want to do.
It's draining.
It's extremely draining. And so then in high school, I was like, you know what? Like, I really like 4-H. I really like FFA. Like these are places that like I can shine and I can do super well in. And so then that helped me be able to focus on something else and really like get out of that.
Which I think that takes a lot of mental discipline.
Yes, it did. It was like, I mean, trust me, like it was also draining to do that, but like it was a better draining because I was enjoying my time and I was enjoying what I was doing. And I think that like really, if you talk to anybody like that knew me around that time, like it was like a flip of a switch. Like I like, I mean, did a 360.
You dove into everything 110%.
Yeah. And like, and I knew too that like, I mean, everybody has like those thoughts in the back of their mind of like, this is going to look good for college. But like, really, I never really thought like that. I mean, I did to an extent, but not really. Mine was more of, I'm doing this for me because I'm bettering myself. And I think like, I mean, not to like, this is not me bragging or anything, but like for a 14-year-old to be like thinking that in their brain, like.
That's why I said it takes a lot of self-discipline and
crazy.
self-awareness.
It's crazy.
Well, when you mentioned that your depression came from what people were doing to you, and like, we talked about like bullying is a big part of it, and a lot of times it is your outside environment that makes you depressed. I wasn't like that. My therapist asked me why I thought I was depressed, and I didn't have a list of reasons. I didn't even have one. I literally said, I have no idea. And to me, not having a reason was worse than having one.
Right.
Because I was like, I have a great life. I have great friends. I come from a great household. Like I shouldn't feel this way. I should be so grateful.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and like, I mean, that's similar to me, but like also different, because it also shows like the differences that you see in different people's mental health. Like I also came from a really good household, a really good family. I surrounded myself with good people. Like when I had the chance, of course. I mean, when you're in elementary school, you don't really have that opportunity, But no, like I just like the things that I was hearing like about me, people like bullying me, and just like the thoughts that they had about me. And it was very outward. So I immediately, a little second grader is like, wow, like nobody likes me. Everybody thinks I'm weird. Like, or they like just don't care about me. And so like, why should I care about myself?
No, it's
And
definitely a domino effect, cause and
yeah,
effect.
for
Yeah.
sure. And so, yeah, but then I got into high school. I was good. I had a really good high school experience for, I mean, the most part, everybody's high school is kind of rocky, but like, I mean, I had a good experience. And then I went to college, went to Wilmington. I mean, of course, like we kind of talked about this a little last week, but or with Stanley, but then also like before with our college
Yeah.
experiences, like I didn't, it wasn't until I really got towards the end of my college career, like the last like 2 years or so, like when I was actually getting into those like major classes where it like takes a toll on you and
Yeah.
you like have to be focusing all the time.
Yeah.
And so like that took a toll on me. And it was weird because I of course, like I mean I had always like there had been a couple times where like you know you mentioned it, like you wake up and you're just like I don't want to do it today. And but I had never experienced like depression like I did when I was younger, really, until like a couple times in college. And of course, by then, thankfully, we live in a world now where like a lot of people who are in college understand mental health and know what it's like because you're all going through the same
Or at
thing.
least the stressors of college.
Exactly.
For sure. Yeah.
And so I luckily surrounded myself with great people in college, and I had shared my stories with them. They had shared theirs with me. And so it was very nice to be able to have like a roommate or a friend that I could just like text or like literally walk to and be like, I'm having a really rough day and I need to talk about it.
Yeah.
And or like I'm having a really rough day and I don't want to talk about it. I just want to stay in my room. And
yeah, there was a couple times that you called me and was like, make me laugh, please.
Yeah. And I mean, and that's everybody. And I mean, it's not even just college people, like people that go to college. Like, I mean, everybody's like that. And it's nice to be able to surround yourself with people who understand and people who can just like make you laugh if you text them.
Yeah. Well, that's the beauty of college is like you are for the most part going through the same thing, which is nice because then everyone understands at least a little bit.
Right. And so then like graduated, it was fine, it was great. I got a job before I like graduated, so that was awesome. Then I moved here, and of course I moved 8 hours from home like in the middle of a pandemic. Of course that's going to take a toll on someone.
Yeah.
And so luckily I had Rachel here already, so like that was good because then we could like talk about things and like hang out and I could get my mind off of things. But of course there's been a couple times where I see myself like having a really depressive day and just being like, this is a lot and I'm by myself. And like, I mean, of course I have friends and everything and I have Rachel and stuff, but like really when you think about like I'm alone. And so it's
for the first time
like ever. And so I mean when I've gone to college it's been within an hour of home. And so I know that like my family, if I called my mom or texted my mom and was like, I need you to come, she would come immediately.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But it's just hard also because you're navigating life. Like I'm an adult. Like I'm a full adult. I have a 401k, I have a job, I gotta pay bills. Like, so it's just kind of, it takes a toll on you, especially like when you move away.
And especially we come from such a small, tight-knit hometown where sometimes it feels like Madison County's kind of it. Like you kind of we're in this weird bubble and there's some people that stay in that bubble forever and it's great. I mean, my parents both and your parents both grew up there, established a life there, like they've stayed in that bubble for the most part. But luckily we both went to D1 universities and like kind of got the culture shock out of the way there. I can't imagine like going to a community college or something small or not going to college even and going immediately from Madison County to such a big city like DC.
It takes a lot, but then you start, now that like the pandemic is like, I mean it's
here but it's not.
It's like it's a very weird like in between like limbo. So like I've been able to like meet more people from work, I've been able to meet more people outside of work, and so I'm able to like socialize and then be able to get back to like, because now like ever since high school I've become a very social person. And so I love people, I want to be with people all the time. And so now I'm able to be doing that more. So like that's been helpful and everything. But of course I still like have those days. But for the most part, being like completely personal, like I am very proud of myself for how far that I've come because I mean, similar to what you said earlier, I've never heard of someone having a like their mental health story being similar to mine.
Mhm.
And so it's been rough, but it is nice for me too, though, because I mean, of course, I wish that I never had to deal with that.
Yeah, we all do.
But right, exactly. But I've grown so much as a person, and it also like a lot of the experiences that like my friends are experiencing, I can give them advice on and help them to be like, okay, well, hey, like this is what I did, this is what worked for me. You're different, it might not be the same, but these are my experiences and I want to see you get better.
Yeah. Well, and
So,
like personally, I believe that everyone deals with depression at some point in their life. It just depends on whether they acknowledge it as that or not.
right.
But I mean, there's definitely all days that we feel sad for no reason. Like it's inevitable. But I talked about some of the things that like, taking 24 to 48 hours would help me a lot. So what's something that you do if you wake up in the morning and you feel that
I
depression
feel
creeping
crummy.
in?
Yeah.
I feel crummy.
I feel crummy. That's
I
what
don't like that word.
I just that's what I call it. Like I feel crummy. I just don't feel good, feel crummy.
Yeah.
And what is one good thing I do? Honestly, I think something that really helps me is I go for a run and try to clear my mind. It usually works. But then also I just call or text a friend that's like nearby and say, hey, let's do something. Like, let's go to dinner or like for Rachel, like, let's play Mario Kart. Like, let's just like,
get me out of the house.
Get me out of the house.
Yeah.
And so I do that and I surround myself with the people that I love. And so then therefore it helps those emotions kind of just like exit my body because then serotonin has come in and I am happy and I want to be here.
Yeah.
So
well, and like for me, and like this is very common. A lot of people do this. Like when I was dealing with it at the beginning of college, when that feeling would start to creep in, I would recognize it, but then I would try to run as far away from it as possible. I would try to avoid it at all cost.
Yeah.
And like I said, a lot of people do that. It's very common. But then I got to the point one day where I couldn't avoid it anymore.
Right.
Its presence had become so large because I had avoided it for so long that I then had to address it or it was going to lead to something worse.
Right.
So now I like when I do recognize it, like I let myself feel it. Like I've got to the point where like it's okay to feel it, like feel it fully, so then it'll go away quicker.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean that it takes, especially for someone like some little advice. If you're going through it, everyone's situation is different. And so like these, like some of what we've said is like some options that you can try, but it's going to take a while for you to be able to get into the routine of what's going to be best for you. And especially like it depends on like what like part you're at with your depression. Especially like, I mean, if you're at the beginning, go talk to someone, go like find someone to like talk to. It's okay to like sit and think about it for a while, but like don't do that too long because it's not good in the beginning.
And personally with my story, when I started feeling depression and stuff, like I was always known as this like outgoing, upbeat person. And I was even afraid to tell my parents that like I wanted to go get help. Just because like baby boomers and Gen X, there's this whole like stigma around it of like, especially with baby boomers, I feel like you haven't lived through a war, you're fine, it could be so much worse. You didn't live through the Great Depression, like why are you so upset? So I definitely got a great response from my parents, and like both of my parents have dealt with depression, so they were very open about it. But for me, I swore I would never talk about it. And then one day I like used to write for a blog called The Odyssey, and I could write about whatever I wanted to. And one day I was like, you know what, I want to normalize this more. I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to write about it. And I wrote a whole article about my story, and the feedback I got from that article was alarming. I had people swiping up on Snapchat that like I was acquaintances with or like knew in the community, but didn't actually like have a friendship with or like really ever a real conversation with them before, swiping up and saying, thank you for talking about this. Like this helped me so much. Like just the feedback was so alarming. And then I was like, oh my God, if this many people are swiping up saying stuff to me, I can't imagine the amount of people that aren't, that have also are resonating with my article. So don't be afraid to talk to somebody, because you might be shocked at like they might come back with like a very similar situation. You have no idea.
Well, and like that's how I found out about like how many people are truly affected by mental health issues.
Well, and you really figure it, you really like, I think, get more of a realization of that when you are in college.
Yeah, because like for me, I didn't really talk about it when I was at Wilmington before I transferred to Ohio State, but then like I was at Ohio State when I came up,
Mhm.
and we were sitting at a table. It was you, me, and two other friends, and then we were just
We
like
were playing a card game, I think.
yeah, playing a card game,
Yeah.
and like we were just talking about things, but mental health was brought up, and
Mhm.
for some reason, I felt appalled to say, "Hey, all right, here's my story."
Yeah, and we were shocked. We had no
Yeah,
idea.
and you had no idea.
Yeah, no.
And like you and I had been best friends for a long time, and so I just like decided to never talk about it with anyone. I hadn't talked about it to anyone except for my mom since I was second grade until I was then a junior in college.
Yeah.
So, and I don't recommend
That's a
that.
long time.
I don't
Yeah.
recommend that.
Yeah, no.
It takes a toll on you, and
Yeah.
it sucks. But
well, like back to you saying like trying different things.
mhm.
I've tried everything in the book, like
Yeah.
from medicine to therapy to journaling to reading mental health books, like meditating. I've tried everything. And it's not a like, oh, I'm going to start meditating, I'll be fixed. Like that's not how it works for me. Meditating, I hated meditating because I can't turn my brain off.
Yeah.
So the whole time I'd be sitting there trying to meditate, and then I'd be like, "Ooh, bunnies are cute." Like that's a really extreme example, but I would start thinking about like, you know, oh, I should be doing this homework, or oh, I should be focusing on this instead of meditating for 15 minutes. Right. And like I definitely have gone through phases. Like I went through a large phase of reading mental health books. I read like 10 in 1 year, like when I started dealing with it, and then like now journaling has been my thing. So like that's something that's different too, is like as we move throughout life, what the tactics that might help you during this time might not help you in the future the same as in the past. So like don't be afraid to dabble by yourself. And like in what might help. Like I know like you said that like you like journaling was not for you. So and like it could be something as simple as just like coloring for 30 minutes. Like that can be very therapeutic. So there's so many options.
There's a lot. And one thing that's like different about our stories too are that I never got therapy. I never went to therapy. I honestly, like, I mean, everybody's different. And like, I believe that people should experience therapy, but I've never done it. And I think that where I am today, I don't feel I need therapy. But now, like back then, yes, I probably should have had some therapy. But I just feel like I got the grunt of my mental health experience when I was super young. And so I will not benefit from therapy because I've learned what I've learned. And hopefully I don't have to experience anything like that ever again.
And it's really sad because like therapy can be really expensive.
Yeah. And that is something that needs to be done.
Luckily for me, when when it comes to mental health, and like just physical health, anything, like if it comes to my migraines, anything, my parents are like, yeah, we got you. Like we will cover it. But yeah, it can get really expensive, which is crazy because like if you go and get a physical at a doctor, it's like what, like depending on your insurance and what your copay is, it's usually like $20.
Yeah.
Where like every one of my therapy appointments is $80. That's with my insurance.
It's crazy. It's crazy. And like, I just see like mental health as such a separate entity of like being like, that's just like your well-being. Like, I mean, it's not like, I mean, I understand like medicines and like stuff like that and everything, but like that is you. And potentially like for someone it could be life or death. Like that's it's just crazy to me how that
unfortunately in America we focus more on physical health than we do mental health, and
that needs to change.
That's definitely where I feel like Generation Z, like our generation and millennials are doing a better job of normalizing it. I definitely think a lot more resources have come out during this time. We are talking about it more. It's spoken about a lot more like on TV shows and stuff. But I feel like with the actual like health side of it and like resource wise side of it, that hasn't changed. It's still so expensive.
It's crazy. I would like to see legislation on it. I would like to see something be put in place to be able to like have that be free to people.
I was looking into doing like, so throughout the pandemic and everything, I'm sure you guys have seen commercials about like BetterHelp and Talkspace. Like they're both apps, they're both like online platforms, but it's therapy that's online, which obviously is helpful during the pandemic. And I was looking into it because I'm kind of going between cities right now. I don't really know what my next move is. And I was like, this could be a good fit because then even if I move across the country, like I'll still have the same therapist. And I looked into it and it is going to be like $360 a month.
No.
It's going to be like between
that's not.
65, depending on what plan you do, it's like 65 to $100 a week.
That is so insane.
Yeah. And
That
even
is
my
so
my
insane.
parents were like, that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
And like it sounds like a great thing. I think that's awesome, like to be able to have an online platform like that,
For
especially
sure.
with Zoom and FaceTiming and everything
Right.
being more popular right now. Yeah. I was like, oh, this could be like a good idea for me. Yeah, I was like, not for that much money.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And like one thing that I have come to learn a lot more is we need to find more resources for rural Americans.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
especially like with the pandemic and like things like that. I mean, everyone's mental health is like very like important and everything, but with like weather that we're seeing like out west with the freeze that we saw like in Texas a couple months ago, like farmers and like ranchers across the country are being hit very hard, like mentally and literally.
Well, and that's something that's really interesting. So when it comes to statistics with suicide, job wise, farmers and ranchers are number one when it comes to suicide rates.
Yeah.
Which is insane. Yeah.
Insane. And I like, for us coming from a farming community, that's very important to us. Your dad's a farmer. My dad works with farmers. And so we just need more resources.
Yeah, and it makes a lot of sense, like, because I mean, they're very stressed, at least like grain farmers during the spring and the fall, planting and harvest. And there's so many outside like factors that play into their job. I mean, like I've seen my dad cuss at Mother Nature because it won't stop raining and we're losing money. And I mean, you can't control the weather. You can't control what the soil decides to do that year. There's a lot of like, it's one of those jobs that like literally there's so many outside factors. You have to put it in the ground and hope for the best.
Hope for the best. Yeah. It's just, it's crazy. And especially like farmers have only so much control over like their crop or their livestock, you know, but like for the most part, like it's Mother Nature. She's taking control. There's nothing you can do about it. And especially like with the pandemic, I mean, they're alone all day, like in a tractor or a combine, like working on stuff by themselves. And then like you put a pandemic in place, no one. Not a person, not one person. Yeah.
Well, like I can tell when my dad has been like in the tractor all day or like in the semi hauling grain all day. Cause when he comes home, like I think I get on his nerves quicker. Cause I'm like, you know, trying to tell him about my day, like what's going on? Let's talk, let's chat. Like I haven't seen you all day. And he's just kind of like in his own head. And it's just like, sorry, I haven't talked to a person since like 5 o'clock this morning.
Right. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And when it comes to like, we talked about normalizing it, you know, there could be more research and stuff. Personally, for me, when I was reading self-help books, the big thing that stood out for me is that a lot of them were like, if you do these 3 to 5 easy steps, your brain and life will be cured.
I don't believe that.
No, I don't either. But I would try the 3 to 5 steps for like a month. And then because we're creatures of habits, I would fall right back into the depression.
Exactly.
So I've talked before a little bit that I'm writing a book. And that's where that stemmed from. I lost my train of thought. I hate that. Oh my God. Oh, the first thing when my Odyssey article got a lot of traction, that was the first thing where I was like, I could see myself writing a book about this someday, but I didn't think it was going to happen this quickly. But after reading all this mental health books, like I wanted a book that was like going to be my friend. I wanted a book that was going to like comfort me. And all these books made me feel like what I was feeling wasn't normal. It wasn't okay. I had to change myself, which I didn't like. I was like, why can't I accept what I'm going through and just like, you know, be better, figure out how to juggle it better. And so that's why I'm writing a book about like, I have all of my experiences in it, but I've done a lot of interviews having other people's experiences in it. So then you can open up to whatever page you want and read a story about whether it's anxiety or depression or all those type of things, college, stuff like that. And you can read a story and like sympathize with people and be like, okay, I'm not the only one going through this.
Right.
So
yeah.
I haven't read a book like that, so I'm writing one.
And we're excited for it.
Yes.
And we are excited for it. I think that I am excited to read it, not only because I'm in it, but also because I've never heard of a book like that before. And especially like I'm excited to be able to read other people's stories. And I think that that's really like, I mean, we occasionally like see people like share some of their like mental health stories and stuff.
Well,
like
it's
online,
usually
but
it's usually celebrities.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, Demi Lovato just came out with a whole documentary about her addiction to heroin and stuff. And it's different when there's a celebrity because they have so many different resources that we don't have access to.
Right.
And they live a totally different life than we do.
We're just normal people.
Yeah. So
trying to figure out life. Yeah. Like we're just trying to live.
Yeah. And that literally is like the sole purpose of the book is where it's all like 20 to 30-year-olds that went to college or in the workforce. Like they are completely normal people. And that's like, what's funny is I told somebody that I was writing a book about mental health and they were like, oh, like, have you done a lot of research on that? Like, do you study that? And I think a lot of people think you have to like be a therapist or a psychiatrist or like have some type of background with mental health to then write a book about it.
Yeah. And the answer is no, literally, I don't need to because I've experienced
that was really my response. I said, no, I've just had a lot of experience with it.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that was my big push of like, no, I'm just a normal 22-year-old.
Yeah. I'm a normal
living life.
Yeah. Living life, trying to live life, trying to navigate it. And so, yeah, I think that is it's a good thing. And I'm excited to be able to also hear other people's stories, like in your book, but like also like in general.
Yeah.
And something that we're going to do at the end of this podcast is list some resources for people.
Yes.
If they're having any issues. Of course, our DMs and our email is always open. Always.
You can message us on our private Instagrams. We don't care. I always leave our email in the bottom in the description. And I always leave our Candid Chats Instagram as well. So yeah, feel free to reach out because we totally have been in that place where we felt like we couldn't talk to anybody.
Yeah. And I mean, if you don't know what's going on and you just want to talk to somebody that, I mean, you probably may or may not know, but just need some advice. We've probably gone through it.
And if not, then we know people that have.
Right. And also like we're learning too. And so
that's the beauty of it.
Yeah. Just learn together.
Yep.
So that's what I would say. But when we're thinking also, you didn't really touch on like college a lot with your mental health.
Yes.
So what did you notice it? So you noticed it more once you were in college.
Yes.
So what triggers did you find that happened for you?
I think personally it was my environment. I mean, my migraines started to get worse as I was going through the breakup. My migraines are usually stemmed from stress. And migraines are something that can throw me into a depressive state really fast. I can be like doing great. And like, unfortunately, my migraines are sprung by weather a lot too, especially thunderstorms and like tornadoes and hurricanes. The barometric pressure when it changes really affects my migraines, which is really annoying because I have no control over that. Like we said with farmers, I can't control if I have a big test this week on Friday and a big thunderstorm is coming in Thursday. I'm kind of like, well, shit. And I usually just keep track of the weather, and I have an app on my phone that tells me when the barometric pressure is going to rise. It usually notifies me like 24 to 48 hours before. So at least I can be like, okay, I need to get this done now because I might have a migraine tomorrow. Because that's something that can really throw me into a depressive state. If I have all this stuff planned, I get a migraine, I feel like shit, I'm in bed all day trying to sleep it off. Then usually the next day I'm like really depressed because I'm like,
I didn't get anything done.
And this week did not go how I planned. And now I'm behind and now I have to play catch up. And so that definitely, when it comes to school, that definitely is something that throws a wrench into my plans. But I mean, yeah, I lived with my ex for 5 months. I mean, I hated my environment. That was the semester that I went up to Ohio State all the time because I was depressed and I needed to make memories and have fun.
Need to be happy.
I need to be surrounded by people that I really cared about. For me, it wasn't really the schoolwork, like the workload. I'm fortunate enough that like I'm a journalism major or was. So a lot of my stuff I do is not test based. I'm a terrible test taker. Same. Terrible. I'm very smart, but terrible test taker. And I just don't, I'm so much better at showing my knowledge
Yeah.
instead of writing it down for you. So fortunately, I have a lot of projects that I do, and I usually have like a week plus to do these projects. So for me, I was always able to stay on top of that stuff. I mean, there was definitely times where I was stressed out because of schoolwork, but usually it was because I didn't get what I needed to get done in time, and I was just overworking myself. But yeah, for me, it was definitely the environment. It was never. I mean, I was always stressed and like stuff during finals week and midterms, but everybody is. That's common.
Right.
But yeah, it was definitely my environment. And then like, I was so excited to get out of that apartment, like from him, and like, finally close that chapter and start to move on. But then I was introduced with a whole new problem of living with 4 complete strangers and trying to create friendships with them. And I ended up like 2 weeks in sitting down and telling them what my past situation was. Because I was dealing with depression. I knew I wasn't fully being myself. And I not only hated that for me, but I also hated that for them because they weren't seeing my like true, genuine self from the bat. And luckily they were great people. And they were like, let's get you out. Like, let's get you out of your room. Let's go have fun. Let's make memories. Like, forget about him. Like, they handled it really well. And I really like their reaction. I wrote an article about that too, is I really contribute like them getting me out of that bad mental space because they were like, let's get you out of your room. Let's go have fun. Like we want to, see your true self.
Right.
So very helpful.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it's great that they took it that way too.
Yeah.
Which I think just shows.
Which, like, they had all been through breakups and they were like, I can't even imagine like,
yeah,
living with your ex and having to go through that. So
yeah. And so I think that experience really helped you and drove you to wanting to write this book too.
Yeah. Well, and it was nice because they were complete strangers, but I was honest with them from the jump. And I'm glad that I was, because I think it would have been a lot harder if I would have sugarcoated what I was going through.
Right.
And then like it kind of like set the table. Then in turn, they were very honest with me. They've all come to me about mental health before too, because of that. So sometimes it's just opening the door to the conversation.
Yeah.
Can make a huge difference in your experience.
Yeah, 110%. I agree.
Yeah. And like, I think it really depends on who you surround yourself with. I mean, we both have had people in our lives that like were great people at what, like, we had great friendships with them at one point in time, but sometimes you get to a point where it's like, okay, you're not healthy for me anymore. I need to either put you on the back burner and phase you out a little bit or cut ties with you completely. Yeah. And like, don't be afraid to do that. I mean,
it sucks.
You're not a shitty person for putting yourself first.
No, not at all. I agree. It's definitely takes a toll. That is a big thing because for both of us, friendships mean a lot to us.
Yeah. Well, and we both have very big hearts. Like we both give people chance after chance after chance because we don't want to believe that someone is a bad person or has ill intentions or isn't healthy for us.
Right.
So a lot of times we get to the point where it's kind of like we have to, because we've given you so many chances, you've left me with no option.
Yeah. And so like Colleen said, it sucks, but if that's what's best for you, you have to do what's best for you, especially when you're going through something mentally that is very draining and very hard. Yeah. Anything that you can do that's going to make it better.
And especially if they're feeding into the depression and like making your stress worse. Yeah. Then like, what's the point? That's not a good friend then.
No, that's not a good friend. And that's not somebody that is going to be beneficial for you or help you become a better mentally or a better person. Yeah. So you learn a lot about that too when you're moving. Yes. You learn a lot about that too when you're moving.
Yes. Yeah. Well, yeah, me going out of state for college. Yeah. There were so many people from high school I thought I would keep up with. No.
Yeah. I mean, same for me, but then also moving for my job, I've also unfortunately have learned that as well. And so, yeah, it's a difficult topic. It's a difficult area, but in the end, things are going to work out the way.
Well, and this is something we could talk about for 6 hours. Like, because there's so many things that feed into depression, from friendships to your family situation, to your work situation, to your social life, to school. Like there's so many different factors that can feed into it. It's a lot.
It's a lot. It's very draining. Yeah. But I'm thankful for you. And I'm thankful that I was able to share my experiences with you first.
I like, I remember being so shocked.
Yeah. And so I'm glad that you've been able to be one of my people that I can talk to, and I'm glad that I can do the same for you.
And I'm very proud of us that we're at a point now where we're
talking.
We're putting this on the internet.
Yeah.
I'm writing a whole book about my problems.
Yeah. So.
Well, like that, like for me was like, you know, I have accepted that depression is something that I'm going to have to deal with for the rest of my life. No matter how much I have control of it, like I said, there's still some days where those chemicals just flip.
Yeah.
But I think it's so powerful when you get to a point when, one, you accept that, but two, you're able to share it.
Yeah.
Like, it shows so much growth when you're able to talk about it, and like, you know, neither of us are crying, neither of us are like, you know, this is our life. This is what we deal with. It is what it is. And you can run from it, but eventually it's going to catch up to you. And eventually it's going to consume your life, because we've both been there.
Yeah.
So we are sharing our stories because we don't want you to get to that point.
Right.
You know, acknowledge things, be self-aware. Self-awareness is something that is huge when it comes to mental health, because I mean, you can't avoid it for the rest of your life.
No.
Like, and what's sad is there are a select few of people that do avoid it their entire lives, and somehow. But to me, that just sounds like such an awful way to live.
Yeah. I wouldn't want to do that.
No.
I would say my final advice for folks out there would be surround yourself with people that you love and people that love you back. That's what's important. And I think especially like going through like becoming like of age and like getting older, like you realize, like, I mean, we were talking about this the other day, you know, when you meet someone, they're going to be your best friend forever. They're going to be in your life for the rest of your life. There's some people that you're kind of like, I don't know. And usually they're not.
Yeah.
But surround yourself with people who you love and people who love you back. And if things get really, really rough, please, 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 please reach out to somebody.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. And I'm still here.
Yeah. Well, and like if you can't afford therapy or medicine or something, and you feel like you're at that point, there are so many podcasts out there. There are so many YouTube videos. There's so many TED Talks that revolve around mental health. I mean, I know I am thinking of 3 different podcasts right now that like, that's solely what they talk about.
Right.
So like, sometimes you got to get creative. If you don't have the funds to go to therapy, or, you know, you're not ready to like tell your parents or make that jump, try other stuff before. You know, if you're not comfortable with that yet, then like try journaling, try listening to podcasts, try reading books. And then if that doesn't help, then be like, okay, maybe now I should go to therapy.
Right.
So,
Yep. And again, our DMs, our email, our things are always open. So if we would love to be that person for you.
Well, and my advice is, you know, when I started telling people, I didn't want them to have pity on me.
Exactly.
You know, like my big thing was like, I deal with depression, but like, that doesn't make me a weak person.
Exactly.
Like, I didn't want that like stigma put on me. I didn't want that like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, how can I help you? And now I've gotten to the point of like, sometimes you have to tell people how you want them to react.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, there's times that like, I'll call Chris and I'll be like, you know, I'm feeling down today, but I don't really want to talk about it yet. Can we just have a normal conversation? But then there's times where I'll call him and be like, hey, I'm having a shitty day. I need to vent for 5 minutes. I need 5 minutes of your time to just sit there and listen. And then like my parents do a great job of, do you want me to listen or do you want me to give you a solution? So that's a big thing too. Don't be afraid to, you know, kind of guide people to how you want them to react. Like, you know, don't be afraid to say like, I needed a solution right now, or I just need you to listen, because it helps them, it helps you. It just helps the whole situation of like the way that people react.
Right. And also don't be embarrassed. I know I was embarrassed. You were embarrassed. Don't be embarrassed.
I wouldn't say I was embarrassed. I felt like an alien. Like I felt like it wasn't like it wasn't okay.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to share with people because I didn't want them to look at me and be like, that's weird.
Yeah. Because odds are everyone has had some kind of experience with mental health. And so, like, I mean, for us, I'd say we're successful at our age.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, even us who have had good lives have experienced some rough stuff and we've grown to be better. You just have to buckle in and find resources and find solutions for yourself.
Yeah. Well, and that's something that like I am not comfortable with. I don't understand when people are content with being miserable.
Yeah.
I'm my biggest competition, which is a pro and a con, but I always want to be bettering myself. I always want to be moving upward and forward. So yeah, don't let yourself get stuck in that, like, yeah, my life kind of sucks. It could be better. It could be worse, but like, I'm okay with that
Yeah.
because, you know, the alternative could be worse.
Right.
So don't be afraid to take chances. And, you know, I mean, you have one life. Don't you
Got
want to
one
live?
life. Yeah.
Don't you want to live it happy?
Live it.
Like,
Live it. Live
well,
it.
and like one of the biggest quotes that like it really changed my perspective on mental health and depression. It actually was from One Tree Hill. Happiness is a mood, or yeah, happiness is a mood, not a destination. So a lot of people think that, like, you know, I'm always trying to get to happiness, you know, I'm always trying, that's the end goal. And like the way that they explain it in the show is like, are you hungry right now? Yeah, that's okay. You know, are you tired right now? Yeah, that's okay. Because that's a mood. It's okay. You know, you're not always going to be tired. You're not always going to be hungry. It's the same thing with happiness. It ebbs and flows. You're not always going to be happy.
Right.
You know, like it's the same thing. So I love that quote because it's a mood.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
I think that's a good way to wrap up the mental health.
I think so too. We have had a very good conversation.
Yes.
And a very in-depth, deep conversation.
I know. I think this is one of our more serious episodes.
I know.
But I'm not.
We were planning on having like a more fun, happy one here, but I feel like I think it's been more impactful to be able to be like face to face and talk about it.
Well, and like I hope it's been good for you guys to actually see how we interact with each other and like our conversations. And it's kind of hard on Zoom because like, you know, you like have a thought and you like want to say it, but then like, you know, you don't want to cut in because then Zoom, it can get tricky. So
yeah. Well, we're going to get into some fun stuff, more lighthearted things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like what we mentioned, Colleen is here.
In the flesh.
And Kat will be here soon.
Yes.
We are going to leave for the airport soon to go get her. And there's some fun stuff in plan for the weekend.
Yes. Yeah. I decided to come up a while ago for Memorial Day weekend. And then when Kat came down to Lexington and we recorded the podcast with her, I was like, why don't you come with us?
Yeah.
Why don't you fly there too?
Yeah.
And I'm going to out her because she's a ding dong. And we were supposed to fly here together Thursday, and she forgot that her brother was graduating last night. And I was on hold with Southwest for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Changing our flights, but it all worked out. I'm glad that we're all able to come because I was like, you know, Kat and I both aren't working jobs right now. We're both not in school. We're kind of in between things a little bit. So I was like, what other time are both of us going to be able to fly out here at the same time? And all three of us are going to be in DC together.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited for that.
Yeah, I'm excited. Also, sorry, Costa, your sister doesn't know that much about your life. But yeah, so tonight we're gonna go get dinner and drinks with Stanley and his girlfriend.
Yes, who you guys met last week on the podcast.
Yes. They're just getting back from the beach. And
Jealous.
then, well, yes. And then tomorrow is Sunday. So we are going to my first Nats game and her first Nats game, but I live here, so mine.
Yeah, I haven't been to a baseball game in like
a long time.
4 years, maybe.
Yeah. Crazy.
And I've only ever been to a Reds baseball game. So I'm excited to see a different stadium and a different environment.
Yeah, it'll be cool. But the Nats just finished up playing the Reds this week. I wanted to go, but I wasn't able to.
Yeah.
And then, so now they're playing Milwaukee, the Brewers this weekend. So that should be good. Going there tomorrow.
We're making pasta tomorrow night. You're going to make your Chris makes some killer chicken fettuccine Alfredo.
Yeah.
So we went to the grocery yesterday and I was like, we got to get pasta because you got to cook for us.
Yeah. And then Sunday, we're going to go to a famous DC restaurant that a lot of politicians and celebrities and stuff go to. So that'll be fun.
I thought we were doing that Monday.
It's Monday. Yeah. Sorry. That is on Monday.
Yeah, I was like, can we go to like a little bit of like a fancy dinner? Like I bought a dress and a skirt.
Yeah. And also Monday's Memorial Day. So there's a couple things in DC that they do that's fun. The parade, whole nine. It's big here because we're America here.
Yes,
but
it's the nation's capital. Go America.
Yeah. And then we'll go to a couple places like afterwards, like at the waterfront, at the wharf. If you've never been to DC, if you're of age and never been to DC, go to the wharf. It's the waterfront, like southwest side of DC. It's very beautiful. It's very fun. And then Tuesday, I think Kat and I are going to get a little touristy.
Yeah, and Colleen's going to write some for her book because I have like 3 chapters due Wednesday that I haven't touched.
Yeah, because Kat hasn't been to DC since your freshman
Yeah,
DC trip.
when we were in high school, which like because we did the whole touristy thing with me in January, and completely different than when you're in high school. Because when you're in high school, it's very like you got 10 minutes here, 20, you know what I mean? Like it's very scheduled, and it's kind of like, all right, you look, you see it, move on.
Right.
So like it all kind of lumps together. Whatever. So it was nice being able to like actually pick out like I want to see this one again and this one and this one.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
But I was like, yeah, please don't make me walk that again.
She complains. I got to do it every time
Yeah.
people come. But like the thing is too is like I'm still like in awe that I live here and then I have the opportunity to live and work here and like these are my views every day.
It's crazy. Like because you live in Arlington technically, and like the Pentagon literally is like
I live
right there.
I live in Pentagon City. So like if you are on the roof of my building, you can see the Pentagon, you can see like some DC
it was crazy when you picked me up in January from the airport and we drove in that way and you're like, yeah, here's the Pentagon, okay, we turn here, here's my apartment, and I was like, you're here like you're in it. It's just, I mean, like I told him like it's different like hearing like, oh yeah, Chris lives in DC, but like to actually like be here and actually see it, you're like, whoa.
And then I mean like Arlington National Cemetery is like throw a stone
and hit it.
But
cool.
So that's our plans this weekend. I'm excited. You've been here for 2 days, but we're gonna get more
chilling.
It's gonna be fun.
Yeah,
Kat's coming. We got big plans the rest of the time. We're gonna be very busy the rest of the time. We've been chilling these couple days, but I'm excited and I'm glad this is Kat's first time being here since I moved.
So
that's exciting.
Which is funny because like I'm like now a little bit used to it, so it's gonna be funny for her to see the whole she'll like oh shock God. I'm gonna feel how you did when I came. So
I'm excited.
Can we talk about the fact that I had to go through security twice to get here?
I don't know what's up with Columbus's airport security, but they are wild.
I had a water bottle, like a like tin one, like a thermos kind of, but like and there was no water in it and it set off the thing and I had to go out, like literally put my shoes back on, take all my stuff, walk out of security, walk out of TSA, back to baggage claim or baggage check-in, had to go completely back through security. In the meantime, I stuck my ID in a pocket that I never stick it. And I swore I threw it in the bin with my stuff. So then I lost my ID. And I was kind of freaking out a little bit. I had to show them 3 forms of, luckily I had like my debit card, my insurance card, and my student ID. And I had to show them 3 forms that like all have my name on it. So then they could look, which I didn't know that. I assumed you had to have your ID. But now that I think about it, when I wasn't 16 yet, that's what I had to do. I had to show like a library card and like a hall pass. So luckily I had 3 forms of ID. They let me back through. Worked out fine, but then I was like I got like assigned a person to go through with me the second time, and they had to take everything out of my purse and my carry-on and scan everything. Luckily, crazy. I got there early because I was in TSA for like an hour. So, luckily I got through. Then as I'm walking to my terminal, to my gate, I was like, wait, I didn't check this one pocket. Literally, there's my ID. Somehow I got bent in the process though. And it low-key looks fake right now. And it's not, it's my real ID. But it like has a nice little bent in it now. And I'm like, it was like the stress I didn't need. And I told my mom, I was like, well, it went very smoothly because last time when I flew out of here in January, that was the first time I'd ever flown by myself. And it went so smooth. Like I was like, oh, this was easy. Why was I stressing? And I was like, this is the universe's way of keeping me humble because it went so smoothly the first time. And they were like, you don't have school stress anymore. So we got to make something else stressful. So that's true. It's fine. I got here all was well, but
I haven't Columbus Airport I've always had poor experiences with. Like I use Reagan National, which is literally 4 minutes down the road. And they're always just so calm, nice, everything's Gucci.
Which is interesting because so many people go in and out of that airport.
I know.
Yeah.
Crazy. But you're here.
I'm here.
And that's what matters.
I'm excited for Kat because she's flying by herself for the first time. Like she's headed to the airport right now. And I'm sure that she is a little anxious. But
I'm sure.
And she's flying out during like, dinner time. I feel like there's always more people in the airport right now. So we might have a story next episode. We don't know.
Might have a story. But okay. Well, thank you guys for joining us again this week. We appreciate you.
We hope you liked our in-person episode. We should have another one in June, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you're coming from my graduation party. So
Yeah.
we
yeah.
should be together. We will definitely for sure do a fun one then. Something.
Yes. Yeah, we'll do fun.
We do want to talk about like some religious stuff. We have some like conspiracy theories we maybe want to talk about. So we've been bouncing around ideas. So yeah, now that we are 6 episodes in, please give us ideas. Please DM us, send us an email. Like, even if you just have funny stories that like you want to share, and you want us to tell on the podcast, we are down to do that too.
Yeah.
So we are at the point where we've covered a lot of the topics that we have wanted to talk about personally. So I mean, we're doing this for you guys, for listeners. This is to your benefit. Yeah. So yeah, give us ideas. Yeah. Comments, questions, concerns, anything.
Yeah. Well, again, thank you for joining us. Yeah. There are resources listed if you are going through something.
Yes, they will be in the description box below.
And we hope that you guys have a great week. Yeah. So.
And talk about your mental health with somebody.
Yes, talk about your mental health with somebody. Yes, this week.
This week. You have a homework assignment now.
Yes, but we will talk to you guys next week. Peace and blessings.
Peace, blessings. We're going to go have some fun.
Yes.